So I'm going to first of all start with a recap of what you've said. So you've said that you want to sell Moin Moin. Now you notice that there's someone that used to sell Moin Moin around your area, right? Is that correct? And you used to buy, and she was almost always sold out, and now she stopped coming. And you're thinking that you go step in, that you are trying to buy from. I don't want to call their name because we are now on an eatery. You are trying to buy my from an eatery, and you had even bought sports one from them at some point, right? So you consider it a viable business to sell the moi moi. And I'm not going to say yes or no. I'm just going to ask you questions. So when you give the answer, and then I will say the answer for the sake of the recording. So the first thing is, who are the people you plan to sell to? You want to make moi moi affordable to people, for low income earners. So, from what you've said, on IG, etc., you've had people, you've seen as high as 800 to 1,000 naira for people selling moi moi. Okay, so so that your question brings me to my own next question, which is that the people selling for 800, 1,000, um, is it? Have you done an analysis to confirm that it is not? They are not overpriced, because you know that the value of items these days as something else is something else. So what are you going to do that would make sure that the price that you're giving us, or giving your audience or your target audience, is, you will break even with that price? So are you going to reduce the quantity? Are you going to reduce the quantity? So the trade amount is lower than IG amount. Okay, so to be honest, I think you need to do a bit of, would I say, market analysis for you to confirm the right price, because you have to consider, of course, you have to consider the ingredients. You don't have control over those cost factors, like how much does the ingredients that you need for the moi moi, how much would they cost? And one other thing that many people miss out when they're doing pricing is that they don't consider the price of their time that they're spending. You don't consider the price of, for example, you're not just going to buy beans and use air to do it. So like the pot. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay, so yeah, you couldn't hear me, so I stopped talking. Okay, so the what they call it, so many times they don't factor in the other things are used in producing, like your pots that you're going to be using, your time, the gas or stove or whatever you're going to use, the energy source, soap that you're going to use to wash, all those extra things that you have to put in order to be able to make the moi moi and sell. You're going to buy leaves. I would assume you want to sell in leaves, right? You buy leaves and you're going to put the leaves inside like a bowl or something. So, you don't factor in all those costs. So, when you're saying that, that's why I was asking you that, do you really think that the E3 price or the IG price, because for the IG person, they also have to factor in the cost of marketing, etc., in order to come up with the optimal price. So I think that it's good for you to do some analysis to determine how much you're going to have to spend, considering all the additional hidden factors, and then also do a test, because I think it's best for you not to jump in with all the amount of money we were talking about that time. The money we were saying. I think it's good for you to start with a test and see how the market will truly react. Because yeah, they probably were buying from the other lady because if I'm sure her price was way below what the Ichi was selling, right? So that could have been a factor, but that's probably because she has actually underpriced the moi moi. So you find out that someone like that that's underpriced moi moi, she's making a lot of money in terms of volume, but she's not breaking even because she hasn't factored in all her costs. She hasn't considered her energy costs. Like maybe council will come or late. She hasn't factored all those things in. So it now looks like she's walking like an elephant and eating like an ant. And she's putting in a lot of energy. So that's one about the selling price, etc. That's one part. Then the second question I have is that how will you make that moi moi? Are you going to make it yourself, or are you going to engage someone to do it for you? You're going to make it yourself or engage someone. I didn't hear that. You're going to engage someone to do that. So you have to also consider how you're going to pay this person and all of that. And the attendant human resources issues associated with that. Hmm? You have to consider that as well. Not to say that you shouldn't do it, but it's something that you have to really, really think about. Okay, so the second part, what I was saying before was, so you said you're going to engage someone that would be making the money. So you have to think about the human resource issues related to that, because there's actually not a lot of value in starting a business without really thinking about the people that thinking about all the different factors. Then you get started, you're all excited, then you come back later and it's, it's like you put in a lot of effort but you're not getting anything in return. So it's a bit important to spend time to think about it up front. It may seem like a lot of things that I'm asking you at this time, but hopefully it's to ensure that we don't come back and say, oh, had I known, I would have waited. So, okay, so that's the second thing I wanted to say. The second thing was the who will make it. Then, so you've answered my third question, which is what about your other activities? What are you giving up? Because, but still, there's still the point of, okay, even if the person is making the money, you have to provide some form of supervision, right? Is that correct? So you're going to need to, yeah, so you're going to need to, um, so you're going to need to follow up. So that's going to take some of your time. So how do you plan to manage that, considering the fact that you're also doing, taking courses, there's still your regular work? You have to think about that. Okay? Okay. Okay, so you see that regular work will not be an issue when, with the, as in, it won't be an issue. Regular work is not going to get you, so you don't see yourself going to regular work once you start, as in by the time you are starting this business, you should have left your current job. Is that what you're saying? So is this going to be able to support you and the, as in what you have to do when you leave your regular job? Do you see this becoming big enough to be able to more or less fill the gap? Okay, so you can see it scaling to the point where you can survive on this. Okay. So the other question I have is, what if the lady that you were buying from comes back? How are you going to manage that? Okay, so you're just using her case as a case of demonstrating that it's a viable business. Okay, but do you think that, have you done some form of demographic analysis for the place you want to go? Because yeah, it may be working that way where she is, but would it work in the location you are thinking of? I don't want to say the location yet because I don't want this to be too tailored. So, so, so you believe no, so you believe that there's a, what do you call it? There's a market for what you're thinking about. Okay, so the next question I have again is that it's not close to your house, is it? Your current house. So my concern is transportation there, because that should also still factor into your costs. Okay, so looks like you need to really look at the issue of location, close to your house, not close to your house, and basically, I think you also need to validate your assumption regarding the number of how well you can scale the business. Okay, so you've already talked about the location. I was going to ask you that where is it going to be located, and where are you going to keep your things, all those issues with council, somebody is coming to disturb somebody that's selling, etc. Then so for the moi moi is perishable. So when you make the moi moi, what are you going to do with the ones, because particularly when you start, before people really know about your business, what are you going to do with the ones that are left over? Okay. Okay. Okay, so I was also going to ask, I missed that question. I had it down. That what's going to be your unique selling point? What's going to be different about your own moi moi? Or are you just going to make moi moi? Because obviously the taste of moi moi is also important. I know there's also the thing about moi moi about there's also the thing about moi moi that is they are as in it is a skill. Making moi moi is a skill. So anybody can mix anything, but getting that taste that people are like, wow, this is lovely. It's not it's not what it's not what you can easily what they call it repeat. As in you need to have the skill. And there's another question that's coming to mind. If you have someone that is making it for you and she has a particular way she makes it and people get used to that, and for some reason the person decides that, oh, she's not working with you anymore, maybe she feels like, oh, this is really valuable, why am I actually giving, as in I could do it myself, why am I reporting to somebody? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. As in, like, I could start my own business myself and she decides to leave. How are you going to manage that? Okay. Hmm. So what if she's holding knowledge? How are you going to manage that? How are you going to manage if she decides to hold knowledge? Like, they'll be living with you. They'll be living with you. So you have someone that is already living with you that can do this. Huh? I said you have someone living with you that can make the money already, or you're going to look for. Okay, so basically, when you are pick, so so do you have like an age range of the person you want, the kind of person you want to stay with you? Okay, oh, okay, oh, okay. So it sounds like you have a general idea of what you want to do, and I'll just say all the best. So so what I'm going to do is that what I've in my recording, I'm going to send it to you. So okay. So basically, you said that for the question I asked you about, uh, I think it was your unique selling point or something. That was the question when you were saying that you're going to have someone that would sell that would make the moi moi, and you use different flavors and all of that for the moi moi. And then I think you also mentioned that the person is going to be the people that are going to, or the person that will make the moi moi for you will stay with you. I'd asked you the question about how you, if the person decides that she doesn't want to work with you anymore, how are you going to manage the change, considering the fact that things like Moin Moin, they require a party, as in there's a skill, and once the hands change, there's the likelihood that people will know that there's a difference. And so he said that you're going to have more or less like a lower cadre person that would be understudying and learning, that should be able to pick up quickly from where the person stopped. So I asked that what if the person is there's what if the primary person is hoarding knowledge, and your response was that she's going to have to be someone living with you. She and I guess the lower cadre person, is that correct? That they're going to have to be living with you, so it will be difficult to hold knowledge. Okay, so I think that's all I remember that I hadn't recorded. So oh, I really wish you the best. I'm going to send you the recordings, and really think about it. So like I said, I don't think you should go in with all that you have yet. Have a trial period. Run it for about a month or two for you to be able to learn what needs to be fleshed out, what's working, what's not working. Be flexible enough to make quick changes, but also there also has to be the what they call it, the wisdom to know when you have to give something time to see if if it would improve with time. So it's just having to learn when to call, when to say this is not working, or you don't want to stay for too long and find yourself stuck and you can't go back. So, and I think one thing that helps, and I believe that's one of the things that all of these agile and scrum things are telling us, that basically you're learning from failure. So, as you try something, you've already given yourself like maybe a month or so, that let me see how this runs for a month. Let me learn from this decision for a month. So instead of putting the step in place and it's there forever, you more or less put it in temporarily. Measure how your customers or systems or whatever respond to that change. So, for example, it could be that, oh, let's change the amount of egg we put into the moi moi. Let's say, for example, and you see how people respond to maybe the additional egg, or maybe the less egg. So you should be able to judge from that and know that, oh, okay, there's actually an opportunity to reduce the egg and still keep the price, for example, because egg is not one of the things that the people are very concerned about. And you somehow are able to tell from there how well you're, as in you're able to play with a few variables, and it will probably help you with your costs at that point. I hope it makes sense what I'm saying. All right. So I think there's no hard and fast, this is the way to go kind of thing. Is okay, let's go into it, but don't throw all that you have into it like that now, except you are really led to do that. But generally, I think there's a bit of wisdom in starting out and checking, learning, knowing what works, what doesn't work, and you adjust accordingly. So I'm going to stop recording.